Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another week of Modiragatsi. It is awesome to have all of you here with us this week again in week 7 of 12. Can you believe it? It's really awesome to have you with us, and we are so excited to see the progress that you're making in the program. So thank you for sticking with us, especially now that we're nearing the exams. Keep in mind that we keep that in mind as well when we do our planning. So we won't keep you too busy in weeks where we know the exams will be starting and when it will be hectic. We will be cognizant of that, and we will manage your time with you. So I hope that all of you are healthy and warm this evening. I don't know how the weather is where you are, but here in Potch, it is extremely cold today and it's quite rainy. We're not used to rain in winter, or in autumn at least. So it is really cold, surprisingly cold today after a surprisingly warm yesterday. And we look forward to spending your afternoon with you and to learn from more of our healthcare experts. I'll just share a screen with you. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the technical content today, I want to make you aware of an opportunity just for girls. So if there are ladies amongst you that are interested in following a career in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM fields, we offer a Femgineering event during Women's Month each year at the Faculty of Engineering at the Northwest-University. So the faculty would love to invite you to register for this event. It is usually a very entertaining event to be part of, and this year we're presenting it in a hybrid fashion. So the Modiragatsi prize giving and winners announcement will happen on Women's Day, the 9th of August. And on the 9th of August, we will invite you guys to either join us in Potchefstroom or in Johannesburg for the prize giving event. And then we will, along with you guys, also invite our guests from the Femgineering event. So if they would like to come and join us, they are also welcome to join at either one of the two sites. So on that day, you will do some hands-on projects in the labs or at the Siemens facility where we will be hosting the Joburg event. And you will be able to try your hand at engineering. You will also receive a fully loaded goodie bag on that day, regardless of whether you are attending in Potch or you're attending in Joburg. You will receive your goodie bag with some stuff inside that you can use for the online sessions that week. So I'm really looking forward to attending that. I always enjoy the Femgineering event, and this year I can tell you that it will be really special. So apart from the hands-on projects that you will be working on during that week, you will also have the opportunity to listen to female engineers from all over the world that are some of our alumni that studied at the Northwest-University, sharing their experience as a female engineer in their respective fields, and it's very varied. In previous years' events, we had a speaker from Mondelez, for instance, that make Cadbury chocolate. We've had very exciting engineer joining us who created a voice and a manner of communication for a little boy that were completely mute and didn't have a way of communicating with the outside world. So it's quite diverse. If I remember correctly, last year we had a speaker joining us from Sweden who worked at the NASDAQ, and she's then in the fintech space. So we have a lot of exciting speakers to introduce to you. And because we're doing most of the sessions that week online, it will also be in the late afternoon. So you'll be able to catch us once you are home from school. You will have more than enough experience, time to experience their view of engineering. So if you're interested at all, follow the link. I also shared it with you on the groups. So please follow the link and register, and we would love to have you with us. You're not obligated to actually join us for the physical function to register for the event. You can register for online only participation, and then we'll send your goodie bags via post again or via courier. So if you're at all interested or curious about engineering as a field, please register for that event. Then back to the Modiragatsi competition. This week, you will focus in your technical content on mobile app development. And this content is really exciting for me. I really loved working through it as a trainer the first time around as well. So I hope that you really enjoy that. And in our personal development section, we're focusing on values and journaling this week. So just to give you an overview again of where we are and what you have learned thus far, because sometimes it feels like you're stuck and you haven't done that much. You've done a lot. So in our technical training, we're in week 7, as I mentioned. You have now covered design thinking, and I think most of you, gauging by the feedback from our student assistants, have made tremendous strides in improving your original idea already. So you took your original idea, you applied the principles of design thinking, and you're now at a point where you're fairly sure that you have a good idea. Then you had a short introduction to computational thinking, and then you moved on to user experience design this past week. So I hope that helped you to really reflect on how friendly your experience is that you offer to your user. And keep in mind after this week that regardless of whether you intend to create an experience, your user will have an experience. So it is important to make sure that it is a good one. This week, we're moving on to mobile app development. And after this, we only have 2 topics left. So I really hope that this will be an interesting one. You will have 2 weeks to complete the mobile app development content. So more than enough time. There's 3 assignments. So you work through the examples and you complete the 3 assignments. It's really not difficult, but remember that you have the support system of your student assistants and of your group of peers on your WhatsApp groups. So if you get stuck, ask them and help each other. I know it's a competition, but in the learning aspects of this, there's really no reason why you can't help each other and learn from each other. And I've really seen that most of the time you learn most productively when you learn from others that are your age and that have similar experiences to you. So they use better language than we do to explain the concepts to you. So learn from each other, work together, and make the most of this opportunity. The reason why we're focusing on mobile app development in this section of the course, well, is firstly because Siemens is a sponsor and they provided the Mendix platform to us, but also because almost all companies these days are implementing at least some aspects of the work that they are doing in a mobile environment. So they either use it to automate some part of their process, or they use it to get information to the user, or they use it for training purposes. So it's really important for you to have an understanding of what goes into creating a mobile application and how to think about it when you're translating your idea into something that an engineer should create for you. So you will use the material of the Mendix University program. That's a platform that is provided to us at the Northwest University. And I am a certified Mendix trainer. So through this program, you get to see all of the different steps that are applicable to mobile application development. And apart from applying it to an example and working through that example, you will also apply some of those steps to your own product as well. So I really hope that you enjoy it. Then, of course, every week we are very proud to host the Care to Kids team of the Center for Health and Human Performance with us. And remember that in the process of having them with us, we focus on 4 main things. So firstly, and I hope you realize this, I only realized today that I didn't really make it as clear in previous weeks. We focused firstly on your body. So we looked at the gut-brain axis, self-protection, and the importance of play. And that all fit into the topic of your body, how it works, why it works that way, and how to protect it, and look after it in a productive way, and something that is applicable to your age group and not necessarily the stuff that you would read in a typical magazine. Then in the next 3 weeks, we focused on how to look after your communication skills and how to improve your skills in that regard. So in those topics that had a focus on communication, we looked at the power of words, conversational intelligence, and how to communicate effectively with others. So making friends and staying friends by really understanding how we communicate with others. If you look back on those week's sessions, you would have seen that it's not just a bunch of practical advice, but also the reasons why, the scientific reasons why we sometimes misunderstand each other. And once we understand how our brains work, it is really awesome to understand how we can overcome the challenges, and that it's not necessarily something that is just bad social skills. So I hope that you really enjoyed those topics. Then this week, we're moving on to the mind. And for the next 3 weeks, we will be focusing on very exciting stuff like journaling, mindfulness, self-regulation, and coping, after which we will finally move on to the last 3 weeks of daring to dream, which is something that I really hope you all are doing while we are on this journey together. So this week's topic is then values and journaling, and you will recognize one of the faces on the screen again from the previous week. I'm very excited to welcome Laura Sosa back. And then also this week, we have Sumeri now. So I am excited to learn from them. I hope that you guys are also excited with me. Remember that while they are speaking, you can already start generating your questions and post them either on the live stream on YouTube, or you can post them on the WhatsApp group. We've opened the WhatsApp group to allow for questions, and just like in other weeks, I will pose the questions to them afterwards. So before my dogs take over the show, Sumeri and Laura, please take over.
Thank you very much. I'm just sharing the screen and then we can officially start. Okay, so like we mentioned today in the previous sessions, just to recap again, it was exciting focusing on the power of words, wonderful science of conversation, which is essential, and then effective relationship communication. But now we're moving the focus a bit to the emotional state in the mind, highlighting values and introducing a very exciting tool of journaling in this process. So if we start thinking about, the mind and also emotional state, we can never leave out the part of the identity. So especially during this phase in our life, identity formation is such an exciting and central part. It's actually always important to think about who am I and where do I fit in. So throughout this journey, I want you to also take time to think about this concept, even when we discuss this topic. So for a moment, just think a bit, and you can write it down, type it on your phone, or just jottle down some ideas about what comes to mind when you ask the question, if someone were to ask you, but who are you? And what is most important to you? So if you think about it for a moment, and you think about, did you think about what you look like, perhaps? Did you describe your appearance? Would you think about what you like, what you don't like? Would you mention qualities you possess or things about your character? Did you maybe start thinking about characteristics or traits of your personality? Would you describe what's important in life? Would you describe things you want out of life? Or what is important for you? And all these questions, and I know it might be a lot, but just to think of, who am I? Who am I? Where do I fit in? And all of this forms part of who we are as people, and to remember that they can change or adapt because we form different roles in our life, whether it's a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a friend, or a partner. Our identity is vital, and it's influenced and formed by many things. And as mentioned, for this topic, the main focus for this presentation will be the part of our identity that concerns what is my core values, or what do I value. So we want to start also off with a metaphor that Russ Harris wrote, and it was a striking metaphor about values that we want to share. So he said, our values are like the continents on the globe of the world. No matter how fast you spin that globe, you can never see all the continents at once. There are always some at the front, some at the back, and from moment to moment, you get to choose which values comes to the front and which will move to the back. Just like with our personalities and appearance and likes and dislikes, our identity, we are all unique, and the same can be said about our values. So when we start thinking about values, we also need to differentiate between these three because they link very closely to one another. But if we dig a bit deeper, there's distinct differences between our attitudes, our beliefs, and our values. So our attitudes, when we think about this, we are refers to ways of thinking or feeling towards something or someone. So in psychology, an attitude refers to a set of emotions, beliefs, and behaviors towards a particular object.
Laura, I think Sumari is.
Yeah, I think we lost you. Okay, should I continue then? Wait for her.
I think maybe continue. I don't see her restarting yet.
Okay. Okay, I'll continue so long.
She's back.
Is she back? Oh, there she is. Okay.
There we go. Thank you. Apologies for that. So I'm just going to recap our slide. And it's important if we think about getting into the definition of values, because these three concepts can easily get interlinked or confused when we think about attitudes, our beliefs, what's our values. So our attitudes is referring to ways of thinking or feeling towards something or someone. So when we talk in psychology, we refer to that set of emotions, beliefs, and behaviors towards a particular object, a person, a thing, or an event. So attitudes are often the results of our upbringing or experience, and they have a powerful influence on behavior. Where beliefs is a bit deeper, it's an idea that is accepted as true without any facts. So according to psychology today, beliefs are our brain's way of making sense of and navigating our complex world. So the acceptance of truth, reality, or validity of something. Okay. And then we get to the values, which is now the main topic, as we mentioned previously of our presentation. It's our set of principles which we consider of great importance. Okay, so let's look a bit deeper about what does this mean when we talk about our values. So values can be defined as follows. It's a central part of what makes us unique and different. Each of us hold numerous and different values, and it varies in our degree of importance. What may be important to one person may not be that important to another person. I want you to think on this journey about what is your values. And if we think further, values are better understood as we think of cognitive structures. So it's our basic and fundamental beliefs that guides or directs our choices, the behaviors we exhibit, and purposeful actions. So it's like a guiding compass in our life. Furthermore, when we think about our values, it comes down to thinking about what's important in our lives, whether it can be security, independence, success, wisdom, our relationships, business, kindness, pleasure, and the list is so long. But to just name a few and think of what is important in your life. So this making values are personal qualities that you have chosen to embody or guide your actions, the type of person you want to be, linking it with our identity, the manner in which you treat yourself, but also other people, and how do you interact with the world around you. Okay. So there's an old saying that goes, if you don't have a dream, how are you going to make a dream come true? Values assist us on our journey of where we are going and what we want out of our lives, our relationship, but also our career and our dreams. Values are of great importance, like we've mentioned, and we're repeating it because it's such a vital part, and it's important to also reflect about it. If we know what's important to us and what others value, it can assist us in various ways. So what are some of the other reasons why we need to discuss values and why is it so important? Values help us grow, but also to develop as an individual. Values are crucial for motivation and direction. If we truly value something, whether it's our relationships or career or an exciting new project, it will motivate us to do more and to know more and to learn more. So it's linked also to our sense of self, knowing who I am. It's essential for our mental health as it increases feelings of happiness, satisfaction, joy, and fulfillment. It helps us to develop healthy patterns of behavior, and it connects us in a meaningful way to other people, to individuals, groups, and our communities. So what is then the characteristics of values? Now that we've defined it and know why it's important, we can look at some of the characteristics of the values. So if we talk about characteristics, we refer to that qualities or the features that belongs to them, and that can be a guideline to reflect on your own values. So what is characteristic but know is a value? Values are personal. Remember, we said it's unique to each individual and it will differ from one person to another. Our action points to what we really value. So we motivate what we want out of life. Our values gives us our perception of the world, and it becomes the filters of the lenses through which we look at life. So your values is that drive within us. Some values can change as experience change, or as we grow older, we go through different phases in our lives. When we are faced with adversity or hardships, our values greatly determines our choices as well. And then, like we've mentioned, our values gives us identity of who we are and where we fit in, whether it's career, whether it's friendship groups, whether it's in our families. Everywhere we go, the values plays a big role. So how are we going to make it also a little bit practical of when we think about types of values? And for this portion, we will take you through some of the types of values that you can find. But I want you to think as we go through each of them, take a moment to think about what you value in each of these types. You can again write it down, just keep it in mind, or you can reflect on it after this session. So we're going to give you a little bit of time as I mention it. So the first type of value the main type is human values. So that could be, do you value trust, honesty, loyalty, love, or peace? Is that something that you really value? And how much do you value it? And which one of them or any other types that you can think of human value do you particularly are fond of? Then the next one, we come to moral values. And when we think about moral values, that is what is right, what is wrong, and we can almost look at them as the codes by which we want to live life. So what moral values do you think, or specifically do you have, and to what extent do they play a vital role in your life? Then the third type of value is aesthetic values. So when we think about this value, it's what do you feel has beauty in nature and life? The next one is material values. And that refers to the things that you want to spend your money on. So what things or to what extent do you regard material values as important in your everyday life? The next one is intrinsic values. That is the things that have value to us in their own right. So intrinsic is always internal. It's not, the aim is not specifically extrinsic, which is our next one. It's something that it helps you when you get it. So when it comes external, where intrinsic value is more driven inside, it's not just about what I can get externally out of it, whether it's a relationship or my career, and etc. And then we get to universal values and values that most people agree on. So that could be, or if we look at the environment that you are, or in the type of career that you will pursue, where you find yourself, that's equality, world peace, respect, etc. So this list is just trying to take some of them to the core of the values that we have, the different types, and for you to just start reflecting on this journey, what do I value most? What do I want to value a bit maybe more? And what am I striving towards moving forward? Okay. So then we get to the next, and that's why we talk about values as well. That's very important because we will sometimes come across situations or times in our lives. And remember, we're talking about emotional state and our mind and how important this is. So, and what we might have to do or where we find ourselves is not entirely in line with our core values. And this can create inherent conflict. And if we are aware of it, we can almost modify it in different routes. So this is when this happens, when we've experienced this inherent conflict of things that's out of place or out of line with our values and what's important for us, we see unexpected psychological issues that arise. It can be, for example, our low mood, increased anxiety, anything where you feel that something is out of place. I'm not at ease of mind. My emotions are not in the way that I want it to be. I'm experiencing less joy, less happiness, less satisfaction. Then also, when we're not sure where our values fit in or where there's this barrier, your self-esteem is likely to be negatively impacted. Self-esteem is how do I feel about myself as well? And then into the self-concept, what do I'm thinking about myself? And then making decisions can become much harder.
Okay, so let's do just a quick recap again with some practical questions that you can use that can help you explore your own values. So if you think about questions like, what matters most to you? What is important to you? What gets you all fired up and excited? What inspires you, right? What makes you happy? What makes you sad, angry, or frustrated, scared, or worried? Think about those things and think about how it makes you feel when you consider what you find important. When do you feel grateful? When do you feel appreciative? When do you feel you're living life your way? And what are you doing at that time? And what you can do as a practical tool to help you on this explorative journey is by making use of journaling. So that takes us into our next portion. So journaling is a very, very nice tool that is used as a form of self-expression that can uplift and empower individuals to understand Hello? Oh, sorry, I think we froze for a second. Okay, so you can use it as a tool to keep a record of yourself, of your personal thoughts, your feelings, your insights, and so much more. It's personalized according to the individual, and you can do it in so many different ways. You can draw, you can type, you can paint, you can write. So now you might think and wonder how simply putting words or pictures on a page can be helpful and that it would get you to feel any kind of benefit in any way. And it's so much more than that. Effectively journaling has numerous benefits and can result in many positive outcomes and improvements to your quality of life. It's a tool that is widely used, especially for those struggling with mental health or striving towards more positive mental health. So let's think and listen to some of the benefits of journaling. It can reduce anxiety. It can be a safe place to get what's in your head out in a healthy way, especially difficult feelings such as irritation or sadness or anger, because it helps take the edge off of strong emotions. It helps to remember ideas and boost your creativity. It creates awareness. Writing down your feelings and thoughts about a difficult situation can help you understand them better. Or putting your experience into words and structure allows you to form new perceptions or perspective about certain events. Journaling can also strengthen your emotional functioning. Journaling evokes mindfulness and assists you in remaining present while keeping perspective. It presents an opportunity for emotional catharsis and helps the brain regulate emotions. There are many areas of our brain that get activated, and this helps us to process the information and emotions easier. As I mentioned, it takes the edge off the difficult ones. It helps us make connections and get new insights and strengthen our memory. So the part of your brain, the amygdala, which is in our limbic system, is responsible for processing emotions, which also triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response when we experience fear, anxiety, stress, or threats. Writing and processing these emotions help this part of the brain to kind of calm down a little bit. Furthermore, it helps us to get that prefrontal cortex of the brain activated, which we know is also known as the executive center of the brain. And we need that for judgment and planning and making decisions. Journaling includes many of our senses. If you think about our body and what we use when we journal, is we use our touch. We feel the pen and paper in our hands when we write or when we draw. We use our sight. We can see the book. We can see the pen. We can see our handwriting, all the lines that we draw on the page. Sometimes we can even engage in our sense of smell. What does the paper smell like? What does the book smell like? Can we smell the ink? Maybe you're using scented pens or cokies or markers, whatever the case is. We use our hearing as well sometimes. We can hear the pencil going across the page. Keeping a journal, especially when you're writing, is more focused. It helps us to make connections easier. It can help us remember things better and process information better. It is a tool that can be used to build your self-confidence and understand your personal identity, which we know is a vital part of our development, especially where you are at now. And this also includes our values. So let's look at some practical tips to help you with your journaling. It would be very, very helpful if you write in a private and personalized space that's free from distractions, because we want you to be present and in the moment when you journal. Write at least once a day. The more you do it, the more it becomes a habit, and it can be continuous exposure to the benefits that you can get from journaling. Give yourself some time to reflect and balance after your writing. Structure the writing in a way that feels right to you. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. And then keep your journal private and safe. It's for your eyes only, especially if you're sharing very, very personal things. It's another tip that we can give you when you journal is to remember the simple acronym of WRITE, where each letter represents a different aspect. So if we look at the W, remember, what do you want to write about? Think about what is going on in your life at this moment. Think about your current thoughts, your current feelings. What are you striving towards? Or perhaps what are you trying to avoid right now? Give it a name, put it into words or pictures, and put it all on paper. The R, review or reflect on it. Take a few moments to be mindful, to be still, calm your breath, and focus. A little mindfulness, we keep saying that word because it's coming up. We want you to keep this in mind as we're going in. We're going to look at mindfulness in a little bit more detail in the next session. Try to start your sentences with statements like I, using I statements, like I feel, I want, and I think. Also try to keep these sentences in the present tense, with sentences stems like today, or right now, or in this moment. The I stands for investigate your thoughts and feelings through your writing. Just keep going and don't try to limit it too quickly. If you get to a point that you feel you have run out of things to write, or your mind starts to wander, take a moment to refocus. Again, another opportunity for mindfulness. Read over what you have just written and continue from there. The T is time yourself to ensure that you write for at least a certain amount of time. Remember that the time element is a way of ensuring that you use your time wisely and actually spend enough quality time journaling. Write down your start time and then the projected end time based on your goal at the top of the page. The E stands for exit strategically and with introspection. Read what you have written, take a moment to reflect on it. The reading helps you gain a different perspective. Maybe you didn't realize you wrote something a certain way, and when you read it again, it triggers a different thought or a different feeling. Sum up what you are taking away in one or two sentences, starting with things like, as I read this, I noticed, as I become aware of, or at this moment, I feel. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different journals with different themes out there in the world on any topic or theme you can think of. Plants, food, movies or series, books, exercise, good thoughts, bad thoughts, happy thoughts, sad thoughts. The list is endless. What are you proud of? What have you accomplished in any given day or week? Anything you can think of. Here, we're only going to give you a few little ideas that can kind of get those creative juices flowing. So the first one there is a blank notebook journal. And this is just a plain blank book that you can do whatever you want with. So the benefit of keeping a blank notebook journal is that it's your blank canvas. You can fill it with for any journaling need that you might have. Among all the types of journals to keep, this one gives you unmatched creative freedom. It's best for people who can't find a curated journal with the aesthetics they like. So if you can't find something that's particular to your preferences or what it is that you would like to do, people who don't necessarily want to follow a certain structure, with dates and times or certain places to do certain things. The next one there is a dream journal. A great way to prevent your dream from disappearing into oblivion is journaling. If you keep your dream journal by your bed and write down your dream the moment you open your eyes, it's much more likely that you'll retain more details. Also, after a certain period of writing down those dreams, you'll notice that you start to remember them a bit easier. The third one there is an artistic journal. Even if you're not an artist or artistic, it doesn't mean you can't keep one like this. And the benefits of that is to release that creative energy, whatever form that might take. It preserves those artistic ideas that you might have. Anyone can use an artistic journal. You can use it to express your creative potential. You can use it to express your feelings or emotions if you don't have words and you would rather use pictures. People who are suffering from anxiety or depression can also use this to get out, like I said, those feelings and those emotions that they might not have the words for. And can also be used by people who want to focus on their psychological well-being. A very nice idea is a gratitude journal. Sometimes it's difficult for people to see those things in life that they are grateful for, or sometimes we forget. And the idea of this journal is a very nice way to keep those things in mind or to help us think of 2 or 3 things or as many as you want that we are grateful for every single day. The benefits of this is that it can improve your mental health. It helps keep you positive. It helps keep you focused on what's positive. It reduces your stress and anxiety as it helps you shift your attention to good things. And it helps improve relationships because you become a little bit more empathetic towards others. Now, something that might be quite useful to you, seeing as that you have these projects running, that you have to do this big project, is to keep a project journal. So it sounds much simpler than it is. You can make it your own. You can do it however you want, but it would be nice to have it so that you can keep track of your success, or you can keep a record of all the things that you have done or that you still need to do. It can help you divide things into steps, set proper goals and time boundaries. You write about what you've done well, or perhaps the things that didn't necessarily go to plan, that you can think of another way to do it. And again, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. But some tips that you might find useful is to use photos. Think about the materials that you still need. Where can you go? What resources do you have? How big is your budget? Go into detail about the procedure, the steps that you are going to take. Mention potential problems that might arise and how you can, or what you can do to solve them. So it's very helpful to keep track of your work, where you are now, and what still needs to be done. It's great for planning ahead and structuring your project-related activities. And you can even leave space open for when you have a random thought that you don't want to forget. So as a final thought for this session, here's a quote from Jen Williamson that says, "Journal writing, when it becomes a ritual for transformation, is not only life-changing, but life-expanding." So when you are journaling, as previously mentioned, we need to be mindful about it, present and in the moment. If you don't really know how to be mindful or what mindfulness even is, don't worry. Next week, the concept of mindfulness will be explained, and that you can start practicing it in different ways. And one of those ways is journaling. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura and Sundari. It's certainly very exciting. I think one of the questions that we received quite early on and received multiples of thus far is, okay, so we now know that there's multiple ways to do it, but what does this mean practically? How do I start? What do I actually do when I want to journal? Where do I start, and how do I practically do it?
I'll go first with that question. It's a very good question, because journaling, it sounds much easier, and it's a concept used, a lot of times for in mental health situations. But the exciting thing about journaling, it shouldn't create actually more anxiety and more stress, because it's so open to anyone to do, and you can make it your own process. So what we would usually encourage is do the writing compared to typing, because a lot of things are done electronically and on typing. But when we write, and that can be in the form of a notebook, can be an exam pad, it can be anything, and you can even create a journal for yourself, make the front page, with a theme, like, for example, my journey to success, my life's journey, anything that you want for it, and then to write, and that's where the different things comes in. So there's no right or wrong way. The actual thing behind journaling is to keep or to get what's inside, because what we want when it comes to emotional health and mind and body, all of that, to get it out in a practical way. And sometimes we don't have the words, or we don't have the courage, or we don't want to feel in that way that vulnerable to share it with a friend or a colleague or someone else. But what's inside here, to just write it out. And it's not for everyone to see, like Laura mentioned. It's a private, personal process. Some people even write and then they burn the page because they don't want to go back to it, because it's such a private thing that they share. So yes, that's from my side. I don't know if Laura wants to add something more to that question.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you, Sumari. And like we mentioned before, it isn't really a right or wrong way to do it. I see there's a question here that says, do I avoid writing long essays instead of journaling? And if long essays is the way that you journal, then that's 100% fine. I mean, what you can do further is take that one long essay, break it up into smaller manageable pieces, find maybe things that stand out for you, in those long essays that you've written that is important to you, or things that you would maybe like to give more attention to. And then put those on separate pages or separate portions of your journal. It's very, very open, and you can do it any way that you want.
Yes, and then also just with the question with anxiety, it's not just used for anxiety, reducing. It does have a benefit of it, but even if we think about low mood, and stress, other stressful situations, and that's where gratitude also plays, because we know that behind gratitude, it's a shift from, what's not right or what's bad to what is still good, even if there's just one thing that I can find to say at the end of the day, I'm grateful for, even if it's, just getting up, just having the pen that I'm writing with. It's the lenses we've mentioned through which I look at life. It just changes our view of what's not just focusing on the negative or what's wrong in my life, but what's good. And that we see an increase as well. Do we see a lifting of mood as well?
Okay, then a further question. So the previous one you answered was, besides reducing anxiety, how can journaling improve mental health in general? But then the participants can't see the questions. So that's why I usually read them out first. Otherwise, they just get an answer that doesn't really make sense. Okay, so then we have a question on how do I get myself to journal if I don't feel like or I don't like writing?
So again, I will reiterate it because there's no, like we said, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So if, for example, let's say you like music or, videos or whatever, you can create a video journal or you can create a music journal. Maybe you can put lyrics from different songs or different recordings into one folder where you talk to yourself, and, you can do it. There's so many different and creative ways that one can journal. It doesn't necessarily have to be written or drawn or painted, especially now with, all these apps that we have, the technology that we have now. You can sit and record yourself, and you can go back to that. So maybe it'll be even nicer to see physically how you change or how you sound, going through this journey, using your journaling experience. I don't know, Sumari, if you have anything to add there.
No, I think that sums it up, that not everyone likes writing, and that's why we provided tips, but it's a personal process. So whichever way works and is meaningful for you, but maybe also to try, and even if you don't like writing, maybe try and push yourself a bit to see, maybe I should try it and I could end up liking it, even if you don't have to write essays or long sentences, just words or a thought, that you can also work in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have a question. As you said, it is private. So how do you go about to keep that a secret? Because sometimes parents snoop around and read a journal and then they act weird towards you. And that's just demotivating.
So that one's a bit difficult because sometimes parents do snoop, especially, if you're still a teenager and, that phase of your life is not always the easiest, with everything going on, all the changes happening, and sometimes you're acting a little weird or moody, parents want to know what's going on, and maybe they just like to find out, is everything okay? So I think there's a follow-up question there. How do you tell them that, you know, they shouldn't do that? Is I think just have an open conversation and ask them, you know, there's nothing weird going on. It's just my personal thoughts and my ideas. And if you make it as colorful as possible or whatever, you know, I don't know. It's a difficult situation. So I mean, your parents, obviously they care about you and they want to know that everything's okay. And depending on what it is that you put in your journal and what your journal is about, maybe expressing that privacy is a very important thing.
Okay, then we have a question. Do you think that journaling in any form, as mentioned, is essential for every person?
No, I won't say, you know, it's an essential, like with a lot of things that we work, when we work with mental health, it's a tool, and it can be a skill to help you on this journey, but also when it comes to, you know, mental health, well-being. So it's one of the tools that you can, like with mindfulness, that's going to be introduced next week. That's a different tool that you can also use. So it's not an essential part for everyone. Not everyone wants to do it. Not everyone, you know, enjoys doing it, but it's something you can try and see if it could work for you, and find a way of making it maybe work for you. But if it's not, you know, if it doesn't work as effectively for you and you find something else, I think that the message is just with these tools is, do you have a way of dealing with and coping with difficult challenges, difficult situations? Do you have a way of just what's in your mind and in your heart to get it out in a functional way? And that's what what journaling does. It can actually be it's not a harmful tool. You can say in there what you need to, even if you write it in pencil and you rub it out. But yeah, it's just a tool to explore.
Okay, those are all the questions that we have received thus far. If there's anything else that you would now in reflection would like to add at the end of the session, some practical advice just to end off with, to get them motivated, and then I'll end off the session as soon as you say that you are done.
Okay. Yeah, I think just as a closing reflection for me is that, you know, values and journaling go so nicely together, because it can go back to that last question of, is it essential for every person? If it's not something that you find important, if it's not something that's important to you, to have a place where you can, you know, do that in an external way, in terms of having it on paper or having it in a book, then that's fine. That's 100% fine. As Sumari mentioned, it's a tool that you can use. And sometimes it will work for one person where it won't work for the other. The same as with our values. Something is important to someone, it won't be as important to the next person. So just to keep it in mind, and like somebody said, you know, try it out. If it doesn't work, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Maybe later in life you can try it again and you'll have a completely different experience. Because as we grow and as we develop and as we experience life and interact with other people, thoughts and ideas change. Our feelings about certain things change. So yeah, give it a shot. I think it's when it works very well. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, find something else. It's okay if it doesn't work.
I think that's an important point to add, that it doesn't mean that you can't process your feelings if you can't process it in this way. So that's something. Sumari, from your side?
No, she summed it up very well for me as well. And it's sometimes how we approach it will also make a difference. Maybe challenge yourself and say, let's try it out. Instead of maybe wondering, is this really going to work for me? Make it exciting, because we know the power of our thoughts and the words that we speak. So it could be an exciting venture for you that you don't know about yet, but just remember it shouldn't increase your anxiety.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong. Just have fun with it and explore a little bit, maybe this creative side that you might not even be aware of yet.
Well, thank you very much, Sumari and Laura, again, for your time and your efforts. We really look forward to learning more about mindfulness for optimal performance next week. And then to all our viewers, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for asking good questions that we also not always know the answers to. It is important for us as well to stay growing and stay mindful of what you guys would like to know. So remember that you can stay connected for support on the WhatsApp groups, especially this week when you are working on your assignments for mobile app development. Remember, you have 2 weeks to complete the following 3 assignments, but get cracking soon. The assignments are already open and you can already submit them. So please get to that so that you can finish that in the next 2 weeks. After that, we have 1 week on intellectual property protection, and then a last week on or a last session on how to pitch this as a final business. And you will use all of this information that you gathered over the 12 weeks to actually develop your final idea that you will submit in the form of a short video and a report that we will then use to make the call on who will be our winners. So apart from having you with us next week should also be very exciting for all of you, because we will be hosting the 2020 and the 2021 winners of the Modiragatsi competition in Germany next week. So I will be live streaming from Germany, and if I can convince the girls that will be there with me, I would love to interview them as well while we're live on air and while we're in Germany, just to keep you motivated to keep on working on this competition and all the assignments. Remember that if you do not submit all your assignments, you can't be eligible for winning at the end of the day, because all of the assignments were designed to help you shape your thoughts and create a final entry that is useful for you as an inventor and an innovator, but also something that helps you create a much more clear picture of what you have in your mind, and communicate that to us as the judges in such a way that we can actually see the picture in your mind. So please do not give up. Please do not stop contributing. We love seeing your ideas and how it develops over time. So thank you again for entering this competition and sharing your time with us. We know it's valuable, especially in your senior years in high school. It is a very busy time. Most of you also have very many extracurricular activities as well. So we know you're busy. So next week, join me in Germany. For the night next week, we'll be in Berlin, and the week after, I'll see you in a different city. But please stay with us. I will also share some pictures of us on our trip on the WhatsApp group, and I really hope you use that as positive energy on your journey. Good luck, stay warm and stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week.